Hello there, my name is Malika and I love to talk about movies, and today we're going to be talking about a very salacious movie. It shows what could possibly happen if you let lust take over all your decision making. This movie was released in 2002 and it stars Diane Lane as Connie, the cheater, and Richard Gere, her husband, Ed, and I can't remember the name of the actor, but Paul is the guy that she's cheating with. Now, it starts off with showing her life as a mother in the suburban town. It's a hectic morning, as every morning is when you've got kids. But it seems like they have this perfect life. There's lots of love between her and her husband, and she seems to be doing well in her mom role. So after she gets her son off to school, she's got all these errands to run, and it's this super windy day in the city, and she just gets blown into the arms of this guy, Paul. There's tons of symbolism that goes into that, I'm sure. Just getting blown into this situation, she couldn't help it. It was against her will. She just got blown into him. Well, she ends up falling down and scraping her knee, and he invites her up to help her patch her knee up. Now, right away, she should have said no, but she went up anyways, and you can tell that there's a lot of chemistry between them. He is flirting hard. It's very clear that he wants her to go forward with something, that he's trying to get her to do more things, but she's good at first. She leaves, and she actually tells her husband about the situation and about him patching her up. So her husband suggests that she send him a bottle of wine or just say thank you to him. And that's kind of why she reached out the second time. So she goes back to his apartment, and again, it's very clear that there's a lot of tension, a lot of excited tension between those two. And if you don't want to be in that situation, if you don't want to completely ruin your marriage, don't go into that situation. It's so easy to just leave before you make the biggest mistake of your life, which is exactly what she ends up doing. But what I do love about this movie is they portrayed the struggle of making the right decision really well. You could tell that she is really struggling with the decision to stay or go, be unfaithful or be faithful, especially when she goes back a third time and he kisses her. The way that Diane Lane acts this scene, it is so realistic and so intense and so passionate. And that's what is really memorable about this movie to me. It's Diane Lane's performance. She's incredible. You can see her clearly shaking and trying to push him off, but he's insistent, but she's not really trying to push him off. You know, it's not like a Me Too situation, but she's just struggling internally with, should I do this? Should I not? Oh my gosh, I can't do this. No, go ahead and do this. And she's shaking and trembling and scared and excited, and you can see it all. They did an excellent job at portraying all of that on screen. Now, after that first intense moment is done, they have this montage of her living two lives. She's got her mom life with a seemingly perfect husband, perfect kid. I mean, she's got this great life, and she's got this lover who she has all this passion with, and she's making more and more mistakes. She's getting more and more bold. They go out to a restaurant and she does a dare where if one person pays the bill, they will kiss there or they won't kiss there if the other guy pays the bill. But what she doesn't realize is that one of those guys works for her husband and he catches her kissing her boyfriend. Also, her husband is noticing different things about her, how she's behaving, the lingerie that she's wearing. He's got his eye on things, and at one point she tells him that she's going to the spa, that's why she can't meet up with him for lunch. He calls the spa and he finds out that she doesn't have an appointment there, so he knows there's something up. At one point she's going to meet up with Paul, and her girlfriends run into her and talk her into going to lunch with them. So Paul comes to the restaurant where she is with her girlfriends, and they do some passionate things in the bathroom of this restaurant or this little coffee shop where they're at. She's just gotten so bold and kind of out of control. You can see that the relationship and the affair is just tumbling out of her control, and it's getting way too crazy. And she even takes it a step further. She's got this snow globe collection, and she gives one of the snow globes to her lover. And that snow globe plays a big part in what happens later. Of course, her husband hires a private detective, and they catch her doing all the things that she shouldn't be doing. And the private detective gives Ed the guy's number and address. So Ed goes to this guy's house, They have a couple drinks at first because clearly Paul knows that Ed is her husband and that he's been found out. And they're in the place where they have most of the time of this affair. And then Ed sees the snow globe. And what's important about this snow globe is that that is a gift that Ed gave to his wife, and then his wife gave it to her lover. How messed up is that? Now, when he finds this out, he suddenly gets dizzy and he feels like he can't breathe, feels like he's going to be sick. He's going through these huge, strong emotions, and then he just hits Paul over the head with the snow globe. And of course, he passes. So now Ed has to hide this. He wraps him up in a rug, puts him in the trunk, and then proceeds to go to a kid's play with him in the trunk. Meanwhile, his wife doesn't even know that he knows she's been having an affair. Now, she doesn't find out anything happens to Paul because she had actually decided to break it off because Paul was cheating on her with another woman. Of course he was. So she broke it off with him right before the interaction happened between her husband and her lover. But it's not until the police show up at her house and tell her that Paul's missing that she knows something is up. It's the police that actually tell her that he is a married man, his wife is living in a different country. So she realizes she made this huge mistake with somebody that had no intentions of being with her. And when her husband defends where she was, even though he knows she was lying, she kind of gets a sense that maybe something's up. Maybe he knows about the affair, because it seems kind of sus. Why would he support her lie to the police about where she was if he didn't know something was up? But it's not until she finds the photos that the private investigator took that she really understands that her husband knows she had an affair. But, and here's the snow globe again, she doesn't realize that he's the one that offed her lover until she sees the snow globe that he bought her and she gave to him back in their house. And she realizes, oh my gosh, my husband killed my lover. Now for the rest of the movie, and there's not very much of the movie left, you kind of see them struggling with, what do we do? Do we go to the police? He wants to turn himself in, but she doesn't want him to. They had this great love, but I guess it just wasn't enough for her. And now she's realizing everything she has with her husband, and so she doesn't want him to go, and they just find their own passion again with each other, which if they had just taken the time to do that in the first place, they never would have been in this situation. Always make sure that if you are missing something in your relationship, you talk to the person that you are in a relationship with about what you are missing. Finding somebody else to fill that void in your life is never going to turn out good. You might be having this really fun affair, but cheating can lead to this. How many true crime stories have I watched with this exact same storyline? It's all about the choices we make, and if we make the good ones, we will usually stay out of trouble. Now, on one hand, I like the way the movie ends, but on the other hand, it leaves you with so many questions and wanting more. So they are on this deserted street, and they're talking about, we could just run away together. We could just go to Mexico and change our names, and they're just coming up with this whole other life that they could have. But they never make a full decision. They're just holding each other and crying and loving each other, and then the camera zooms out and you can see that they're sitting in front of a police station. So we don't know. Do they turn themselves in? Do they flee to Mexico? Do the cops find out that he did it? And the reality is, with the way everything happened and all the lies she told, which were very stupid, the cops would definitely figure out who did it. She told the dumbest lies, saying that she was never in his apartment. Her DNA is going to be all over it. That she didn't really know who he was. They went out in public. Multiple people saw them together. They just made very, very silly lies. But, of course, once you admit, I was having an affair with this guy, your husband or you are going to be the prime suspect. Duh. So I think the moral of this story is don't cheat. If you want something else, just break up with who you're with, and then you won't piss off everybody. Of course, when you have my Movie Chat Mondays, giving you exactly what you need, you don't need to cheat. You can just hang out with me, right? I hope you enjoyed this Movie Chat Monday, and I hope to see you next Monday. Bye-bye.